everyone. It's Vanessa from Gruesome Mag, and I am here with the one, the only Doc Rotten, who is going to give us perhaps more than a bite-sized take on the movie Downsizing. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good. Oh, yes, a little bit of Matt Damon for us tonight.
Matt Damon.
Yes. This film. Oh, my.
Oh, well, it sounds like you're going to have a mouthful on Downsizing.
You trying there? All right, so Downsizing has enough sci-fi elements that I thought it would be a good film to discuss here on Gruesome Magazine, because it is about it tends to be a social satire, but it's about finding a better life, for not only for people and financially, but also for the environment. So it's heavy about global warming and all that, and overpopulation. So by shrinking everybody down to 5-6 inches, you don't use as much. Maybe the world will last longer. And that's the concept of it. And then what does all that mean? And giving up stuff, and because your money stretches further, you have more money to buy things because every dollar is worth like $1,000 there. So people are millionaires instantly. So it tries to say a lot and ends up saying, ironically, very little.
Interesting. I just don't understand why he would have come up with the premise of becoming small as the answer.
That's a good question. This is a director that a lot of people really like. Sideways was a good a film that he was very popular. Descendants, Nebraska. And of course, Matt Damon is a favorite. The cast also contains favorites like Kristen Wiig. It also has Udo Kier, which is a genre favorite, right? And of course, Christoph Waltz, who has really exploded onto the screen in the past decade or so. And then, comedy favorites like Jason Sudeikis. So, but a lot of the times many of the people have like cameo roles, like James Van Der Beek.
That's fun.
Yeah, there's all kinds of these things. And there's some really big surprises, which I won't give away here, that kind of wish they had more of. In the end, though, it's all about Matt Damon, who ends up here, and it changes his life. And the people that he encounters there continue to change his life. And he opens his eyes to, even though he's smaller, bigger concepts. And it tries to kind of go there. And even when there's a smaller world, these bigger concepts and bigger problems of the world still plague humanity. A lot of it centers around a character, Tran, who is played by Chau, who is a Vietnamese woman who was downsized against her will as punishment, as she was a refugee from Vietnam and was imprisoned, and found herself shrunk against her will.
Oh,
and it's irreversible. So she ends up being a part of the storyline and part of his growth, if you will. And some of that is the film's best moments. And it really tries hard. Christoph Waltz is like his neighbor, and he's making the most of the world around him, along with Udo Kier. So, but they also have connections that, are beyond what you expect to the whole scientific element of it. The people behind everything, and they as the story goes along. Don't want to give too much more away, but it tries to do a lot of little things and forgets,
no pun intended.
Well, maybe, and forgets to do a story. It's something that actually matters. It meanders around. It leaves points behind. It brings characters in that have no real impact. It seems like you could cut a good portion of this film away, and that's unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask, but you seem to have answered that as to whether or not, because in the way that you're describing it, sounds like a feel-good movie. You should feel better at the end. You should have a better worldview, I guess, at the end. But from what you're saying, you kind of just leave a little muddled.
No, you're just scratching your head like, what the hell? It's to me, it's a disaster. It's close to being one of the worst of the year. It is really just it's unremarkable, and it shows a lot of elements of the process, which you would think would be fascinating and interesting, and it's made perhaps purposefully very mundane. And by being mundane, it makes it very boring when it's in a very important step of the movie that isn't really important to the movie. And I'm talking about the entire shrinking process. It would have said the same thing if he walked into the shrinking process and you have a quick montage and he wakes up on the other side. Having the extended elements that we have there just really makes you kind of lose interest and it didn't convey, I think, the message they were trying to. There's a lot of that goes on. A lot of things just fall flat. Some of the jokes fall flat, and sometimes it wants to be funny. Other times it's trying to be very serious and very heartfelt, and it doesn't necessarily succeed in either, and kind of ping pongs back and forth from one to the other. And it still, everything I'm describing is nothing near what the marketing is doing. And I hate that happens, and it has happened a number of times in 2017. But
many, many times.
But it sells a film that it is not, and there are going to be a lot of upset people about that.
Unremarkable downsizing.
Yeah.
Well, Doc, let's see if we can spin this around. What was your favorite scene? And after that, give us your rating, 1 to 5.
Well, I'll go ahead and give my rating, and my rating is unfortunately 1.5. And that is all on the concept, because I thought the concept alone was very interesting. It drew me into the movie. I wanted to see what this was all about, right? Unfortunately, the execution didn't deliver anything. I also liked the actress, Chau, who played the Vietnamese character, and she was exceptionally funny, and she was also the heart of the film. She is extraordinary in it, and you really feel her plight. You really and she, there's no, a little bit of a twist, but she falls for Matt Damon, and it feels the two of them really work. If they would, it's a lot of missed opportunities. So yeah, 1.5. My favorite scene, because I'm getting past my point here. So favorite scene is anything with Christoph Waltz.
Okay.
He is hilarious.
I will accept that.
He is hilarious. When he shows up, he's just right off the bat, because you get to see him through like a fisheye lens through a door peephole. Oh. So he's exaggerated, and he's he's larger than life, even though he's teeny. Gosh, they're just a mile a minute here. So he makes the film work every time he's in it. So I really enjoyed him. One of the scenes that stuck with me, and I hesitate to call it a favorite scene. There's a part where there's an explosion in this little world, right?
Okay.
And, there's a countdown, and they all go running, and you're waiting for this explosion. Of course, it's a little world, so it's actually a little explosion. And at the time, I thought it was so bad, but here, a couple days later, it's the one thing that I keep thinking of over and over again. And I think it just might be subtly genius. But, so yeah, there you have it. Downsizing.
Okay. All right. Diminishing returns for downsizing. Should have gone with the Willy Wonka shrinking formula.
Oh, my God. That all works.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Doc. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Be sure to visit GruesomeMagazine.com to listen to the other Gruesome podcasts, Hard News Radio, and Decades of Horror. Also check out the Gruesome Magazine Quarterly, available in digital and print-on-demand format. Gruesome Magazine.